Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari 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 Jom Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivakacharya Shodhara Sati Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naronchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudire Nashtaprayesha Bhadresho Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So today we are reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 5. The chapter entitles Glories of Lord Nityananda Balaram. We will read the verse number 7. saṅkarṣaṇaḥ kāraṇa-toya-śāyī kāraṇa-toya-śāyī garbhoda-śāyī ca payo bdhi-śāyī śeṣaś yasyāṁśa-kalāḥ sa nityā nandākhya-rāmaḥ śaraṇaṁ mamāstu saṅkarṣaṇasya kāraṇa-toya-śāyī garbhoda-śāyī ca payo bdhi-śāyī śeṣaś yasyāṁśa-kalāḥ sa nityā nandākhya-rāmaḥ śaraṇaṁ mamāstu saṅkarṣaṇaḥ kāraṇa-toya-śāyī garbhoda-śāyī ca payo bdhi-śāyī śeṣaś yasyāṁśa-kalāḥ sa nityā nandākhya-rāmaḥ śaraṇaṁ mamāstu Matajis, Krishna kāraṇa-toya-śāyī garbhoda-śāyī ca payo bdhi-śāyī śeṣaś yasyāṁśa-kalāḥ sa nityā nandākhya-rāmaḥ śaraṇaṁ mamāstu. Saṅkarṣaṇaḥ, Mahasaṅkarṣana in the spiritual sky, kāraṇa-toya-śāyī, kāraṇa-toya-śāyī Vishnu lies in the causal ocean. Garbhoda-śāyī Vishnu who lies in the Garbhodaka ocean of the universe. Cha and payo bdhi-śāyī Shirodikṣāyī Vishnu who lies in the ocean of milk. śeṣaṇaḥ, the conch of Vishnu. Cha and yasyā, whose amsha, plenary portions, kalāḥ, and parts of plenary portions, saha, he, Nityananda Akhya, known as Lord Nityananda, Ramaḥ, Lord Balaram, śaraṇaṁ, shelter, mama, my, astu, let there be. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: May Sri Nityananda Ram be the object of my constant remembrance. saṅkarṣaṇaḥ, the śeṣaś, and the Vishnus who lies in the kāraṇa ocean, garbha ocean, and ocean of milk are his plenary portions and the portions of his plenary portions. Purport. Srila Sarup Damodar Goswami has recorded this verse in his diary to offer his respectful obeisances to Lord Nityananda Prabhu. This verse also appears as the 7th of the first 14 verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yata Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamsha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpataro Brasha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we are celebrating Nityananda Prabhu's appearance day of this year. For all Gaudiya Vaishnava devotees, these two tithis of Nityananda Trayodashi, appearance day of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, and soon will be coming Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, are very, very important for us to invoke their blessings upon us. So as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all of us know, he is the most merciful incarnation of the Supreme Lord. And that is why, like, he appeared in a place called Radhadesh, in a village called Ekachakra. So now, as per the traditions, if a person gets a residence in a holy place or close to the holy river, is considered as fortunate person. And as you go further away, those people are considered as less fortunate. And Radhadesh is far away from that, and because of that, Nityananda Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu chose to appear at that place, because he mainly incarnates to deliver the most and most fallen people. So the time when he was about to appear, that place was suffering from many years of droughts, famine, and people were staying in a very, very poverty-stricken conditions. But as soon as Nityananda Prabhu appeared over there, immediately everything became auspicious. When we read these descriptions, whether it's in Krishna Leela, whether it's Ram Leela, when Supreme Lord descends on this earthly planet, everything becomes auspicious. And that's how everything in the Ekachakra and surrounding areas became auspicious. And people felt certain divine joy in their heart. Even Vaishnavas who were staying at different locations, somehow or other this particular time, all of them were feeling a divine joy in their heart. So Hadai Pandit was his father's name and Padmavati was his mother's name. They were very, very learned Brahmins, very great Vaishnavas. And in that family, Nityananda Prabhu chose to appear. And his body was so beautiful and charming that anyone who could take the darshan could not take his eyes off from him. And not only his parents were attracted to that, all the residents of Ekachakra were so much attracted to this beautiful child. And that child was becoming their life and soul. And as we have seen, as Nityananda Prabhu was growing in Ekachakra, all his childhood pastimes are described in Chaitanya Bhagavat. Very elaborate descriptions are given that whenever he was playing along with his companions, as all the children are very playful, and now Nityananda is none other than Balaramji. So he has appeared, and so long all his sakhas also appeared in Ekachakra. And all these, his friends used to always perform the Vrindavan pastimes. And all his sakhas were coming from Goloka. And all of them, they remember Krishna. And Nityananda Prabhu would direct all the pastimes. He was kind of a producer as well as the script writer as well. So all these roles were fulfilled by Nityananda Prabhu, and he would exactly enact all the dramas that he did it in his previous incarnation in Vrajabhumi. So once, like when Lord Krishna appears, he appears in a prison house. So then they chose a very dark room in which the Supreme Lord descends. Then they played the Leela for Putana, where one boy enacted the role of Putana, and another boy enacted as a small child, and it totally sucks out the air from Putana's body. So all their dialogues, all the way they enacted was exactly what happened in Krishna Leela. Then there was a Padmavati Pushkarani in which they perform the Kaliya Leela. And all the coward boys, all the friends of Nityananda Prabhu, laid unconscious on the backs of Padmavati Pushkarani. And when Nityananda Prabhu in the form of Krishna, he subdued Kaliya and then he revives all of them with one glance. Then they played the beautiful Leela of Govardhan, where Indra was humbled. Then they enacted the Leela of Dhenukasur, where all the tal fruits were shaken up. Then they were also performing a beautiful Leela of stealing the butter. He not only performed Krishna Leela, he also performed like Varaha Leela, Vamana Leela, Ram Leela. So it was a Ekachakra, but it was transformed into Vrajabhumi. And then he was emanating such ecstatic love there within his family and all the villages that the friends would never wanted to leave him. The parents were also very delighted to see all the children are nicely engaged, and then they are performing nice dramas, exactly repeating the Leelas of Krishna, Leelas of Ram. So not only the Hadai Pandit and Padmavati, but all the children's parents in that village were very, very happy to see the children are so nicely well behaved. And the body of Nityananda Prabhu was mentioned that it was like butter soft. Anybody would touch, he would feel as if it's touching the butter. So this is how he kept on doing it. They also perform Akrur Leela, where gopis, they were shedding torrents of tears in separation from Krishna. They were pleading Krishna not to go. And the people of Ekachakra were amazed that how they know all these pastimes in such a minute details. Then they also enacted the Ram Leela, where Nityā, he had appeared in Ram Leela as Lakshman. So in the final battle between Ravana and Lakshman, so the one boy picks up the lotus and throws it to Lakshman, and it acts as a Shakti. And Nityananda just falls unconscious on the ground, and all his friends tried to cry loudly, and somehow they were not able to revive him at all. And then all the parents also came to know that Nityā is not showing any signs of life. They also became very worried, and they also started crying. And they also remembered something like Dashrath was remembered when he was departed. And then as they were lamenting, one boy remembered, telling that Nityā told me that when I will fall unconscious, you take the role of Hanuman, you go to Himalayas and carry the mountain and you bring that Sanjivani, and as soon as you bring that Sanjivani to my nose, I will be revived. So immediately that boy enacted the role of Hanumanji, and as soon as he brought the herbs to the nose of Nityananda Prabhu, immediately he arose from the sleep. And all the parents were very much worried. And Nityananda Prabhu said, these are all my pastimes. So what's a big deal in this? So this is how Nityananda Prabhu spent all his time in Ekachakra. And especially his father Hadai Pandit had a lot of affection for Nityananda Prabhu. And as he was growing old, the father also became very much deeply attached to him. Wherever he would go, he would always take him with him. And while walking, if Nityananda Prabhu lagged little bit behind, he would immediately become very anxious and would start searching for him. And then similarly, not only Hadai Pandit and Padmavati, all the villages of Ekachakra was so much similarly attached to Nityā. And seeing this intense attachment, Nityā was reflecting now what is the divine mission that he has. He knew that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared and I have to assist him in that. But how I will be able to leave the home if my parents are so much attached to me? So when Nityā was 12 years of old, that time in his mind he resolved that he will leave Ekachakra. And 12 years, that's the time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in Ekachakra. And then as Nityā was thinking like this, mysteriously when sannyasi arrives in Ekachakra, he was a very young sannyasi, and as he entered the Ekachakra, he was loudly asking, where is the house of Hadai Pandit? Because Hadai Pandit was a very well-known Brahmana staying in that place. And especially sannyasis would stay in a very, very particular place. They wouldn't stay in any place which was not considered as pure. So he was asking for the house of Hadai Pandit. And Hadai Pandit, as usual, he was a great host. And with a great hospitality, he invited this young sannyasi to his house, and all his cares were taken care. And all the night he was talking about Krishna Lila, and Radha Pandit and Padmavati were listening to him throughout the whole night, the Krishna Lila. And then as the morning came, that's the time sannyasi started living. So it's a custom in a Vedic house, like if a guest comes, and especially a person who is a renounced order of life, who is a sannyasi, if he comes, then while he is living, there is a custom to ask him what he wants, and custom to give him lot of things in charity. So as he was living, naturally Radha Pandit, with a great humility, requested him that if he needs any charity or if he needs any help. That's the time he requested that I am a young sannyasi, I need assistance. I travel to so many holy places, so somebody should be with me. And as soon as he requested that Nityā should accompany me, it was as if like thunderbolt struck on the Radha Pandit. And he immediately recalled that how when Vishwamitra Muni came and asked the Dashrath that Ram should accompany me to the forest. And then he was in great anxiety. Then he talks to his wife Padmavati. But chaste Padmavati, she was like a surrendered devotee of the Lord. She says, whatever you decide, I will accept that. And then both of them with a heavy heart had to accept the request of this young sannyasi. And then while Nityā was leaving the home, that time he was very much concerned with his mother, and he told young sannyasi that you should do something to pacify my mother. That's the time that young sannyasi takes out from his bag the beautiful deity of Murlidhar and gives it to Padmavati and tells her that as you worship him, as you look at to him, this beautiful deity, you will feel the presence of Nityā in that. Padmavati was first thinking that this is Lord Krishna and my son Nityā is different from Lord Krishna. But then sannyasi replied, as soon as you see this deity, you will feel the presence of Nityā in that. And as Padmavati looked at the beautiful form of Lord Krishna, and soon she could see the face of Nityā in place of Lord Krishna. The deity is still there in Ekachakra along with the Bankarais deity. And then Nityananda Prabhu, completely with detachment, without any lamentation, happily walked away with this sannyasi. And this is how he traveled for almost 20 years. When he was age at 32, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started the Sankirtan Yajna, that's the time he came to Navadvip. Even though, as the verse says, that he is the source of all Mahavishnu's, Anantashesh and all. So he has all these 6 potencies of the Supreme Lord. But still, he humbly waits till the Supreme Lord himself inaugurates. And then as Nityā arrives in Pandharpur in Maharashtra, and he stays in the house of one Brahmin who was the godmother of Madhavendra Puri. And that time Lakshmipati Tirth was also present in that same house. And that day Lakshmipati Tirth, even though he was a very elderly person, he started feeling a divine presence of Lord Balram in his heart. And spontaneously he started narrating the glories of Lord Balramji. And in that very ecstatic feelings, he felt unconscious. And in that unconscious state, he hears that Lord Balram has appeared and he has whispered some mantra in his ears. And he gives the order that tomorrow a young Avduta will come and he will request for initiation, you should immediately initiate him. And as he comes back to the external consciousness, immediately Nityā enters in that room and begs for the initiation. And the same mantra which was heard by Lord Balaram, Lakshmipati Tirth gives it to Nityā. And this is how like both of them, and they rejoice, the Guru and disciples, both of them, they started rejoicing. And that time Nimai reveals that I am Lord Balaram. And that's how Lakshmipati Tirth beautifully sees that, and eventually he lives back to the Golok Vrindavan. And after that, as Nityā was wandering at different places, when he was in Western province, he also met Madhavendra Puri. And he was the disciple of Lakshmipati Tirth. And as soon as Madhavendra Puri and Nityā comes in the presence of each other, and as they see each other, lots of tears started flowing from his eyes. And as they embrace each other, both of them fall unconscious. And then devotees surrounding both of them, they didn't understand what's happening, but they just kept continuing loudly chanting the holy name of the Lord. And after that, both of them regain the consciousness, they embrace each other again and again. And then Nityā explains that today the purpose of my pilgrim is fulfilled. And Madhavendra Prabhu also explains that wherever there is a Nityā, there is a spiritual world, Vaikuntha. And then he also explains that if a person commits a slight offense at the feet of Nityā, Krishna will totally neglect that person. And that's what we have seen in his Leela at Benapole, when there was one zamindar called Ramchandra Khan. He disrespected Nityananda Prabhu, and his entire family, not only his family, the entire village was wiped out. That's why one has to be extremely careful that we should never offend Nityā. And then eventually Nityā comes to Navadip. He was hiding in the house of Nandanacharya, and that's how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu meets him. And then they celebrate his Vyas Puja at Srivas's house. And then one day, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives instructions to Haridas Thakur and Nityananda Prabhu that you go to house and beg in charity from each house that they should chant Krishna's name, they should worship Krishna, and they should make Krishna as life and soul. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order was very clear. Tell them to worship Krishna, chant his name, and while giving this mercy, you should not discriminate. Don't see whether this person is pious or impious, whether this person is fit to be receiving the seats of devotional service, or these people are unfit. Just give Krishnanam to everyone. That was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order. And then whatever order the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave, Nityananda Prabhu makes that order his life and soul. And what was the method of preaching that was given is approach each home as a humble beggars. So Haridas Thakur and Nityananda Prabhu would go to each and every house, knock on the door of that house, and humbly beg them, falling at their feet, that please at least once chant Krishna's name. And even if the persons were the most sinful, still they would fall at his feet and request him to chant the holy name. So the thing is, Nityananda Prabhu is the Supreme Lord himself. And he is begging to the people that please take the love of Krishna. And then what happens is the pious people immediately accepted that and they started chanting, and Mahamantra started spreading everywhere. So the first is the order of the Supreme Lord, and then you start acting on that order. That's the way, the method of the preaching. And you will always get the mixed response from that. That some people insulted him, they abused him, they threatened him, or some of them they chased them away. And some of them made lot of accusations that you are like you useless Vaishnavas. Some people accused him that you are the thieves. At daytime you are coming to our house to observe, and at night time you will come and steal all our valuable possessions. And then some people accuse them that you are the spies and you will give all these secret informations to others. Some advise them that why don't you worship Goddess Durga instead of Lord Krishna? And as I said, it's a mixed response, but some people sincerely take to the chanting. And this is how we see that the mood on identity of the Nityananda Prabhu. Neither Nityananda Prabhu nor Haridas Thakur were disturbed when they received the negative response. They were fixed in their service to the Supreme Lord. And Nityananda Prabhu had only one identity: I am servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he never claimed that he is divine, though he is the Supreme Lord. And he continued house to house preaching activities. And that's how he meets Jagai Madai, and all of us, we know that story. So the thing is, Srila Prabhupada and all our previous acharyas have carried this mood of preaching. Srila Prabhupada, even at an advanced age, went all over the world so that people of all over the world, no matter what their background is, they could get the seed of devotional service. We see Bhaktivinoda Thakur's life, that he wrote so many books, then he himself would go in Harinam Sankirtan. He also went from door to door begging money from the people so that he could build the temple at a Yogpit. And he also did a lot of congregational preaching. So Srila Prabhupada taught us by preaching we became devotees. And the preaching is just not we are simply speaking. We are actually trying to transform the hearts of the people. And that is very important. Because what we are trying to achieve through preaching is to elevate a person from his miserable condition to a blissful state. Because people who are suffering because they are devoid of love of Krishna, and as soon as they get the love of God, all their problems will be satisfied and they will become blissful. So the real preaching is not just real preaching means it's a compassion. It's not just you collect the number of followers who will give you money or he will give you the facilities. That's not the preaching at all. The real preaching means we sacrifice our life for the previous acharyas and make all the miserable people, they become happy. And how they will become happy? If we bring them at the feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And if you inspire them to chant the holy name, that's how people will be really benefited. So Gaur Govind Swami was explaining that how this kind of sadhu sangha is extremely important. So he gave the analogy of a blind person trying to understand the milk. So one blind person asked another person, now what is the color of milk? So another person replied, color of the milk is white. So now blind person wanted to understand that what it means by white. So he asked, what do you mean by white? Then he said, oh, it's just like a crane. Crane color is white. So milk is white like that of a crane. Now this person is a blind. How he will understand Now, what is a crane and what is the color of milk? So then he inquires, then how does the crane look like? Then another person just makes shape like this and he says crane looks like this. And then blind mind sees the hand of that person. Okay, then I will never drink milk all my life. Because if it is like this, it will get stuck in my neck and I will die. So better I should avoid drinking milk. So this is why, how if a blind mind tries to understand, he will never come to real conclusions. And that is why when the sadhus goes out in the society and then they do Krishna Katha, then people understand what is devotional service. They understand why we should chant the holy name. And if they chant the holy name, they will come out of their miserable conditions. So this is how we have to understand that this is most important. And Nityananda Prabhu would go like, Bhaja Gaurango, Kaho Gaurango, Lao Gaurangir Namre. That means anyone who worships Gauranga, anyone who speaks about Gauranga, or anyone who chants the name of Gauranga, that person becomes my life and soul. So that means what this prayer is, that Nityananda Prabhu is praying that anybody who is chanting the name of Gauranga, he becomes my life and soul. So that means Nityananda Prabhu is eager to become servant. Not only is the servant of the Supreme Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he wants to serve all the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that's his life and soul. Because that is the exalted position of Das Dasanudas. And actually, that's the Jiva's belonging in this life. That is identity as Das Dasanudas, and by which he can be actually happy. And it is said like, for a disciple to repay the debts of spiritual master is extremely impossible. Then, when Srila Prabhupada was meeting with his disciples, and some of the disciples were expressing the mood that because of you, we have benefited so much. Now how we can repay the debts to you? Then Prabhupada said that if you are really feeling indebted to me, then you should preach vigorously like me. And that's the way you can repay me. Of course, in one sense, nobody can repay the debts to a spiritual master. But even if we have this attitude, a grateful attitude, and assist to our spiritual master, then spiritual master becomes pleased with this attitude of these disciples, that he is trying to assist me in my mission. Now we see that Nityananda Prabhu, what is his giving is the pure devotional service, and especially pure devotional service means the love which gopis were experiencing. The highest is Vrindavan, and in that Vrindavan, the gopis are highest. And how it is possible that in the people of the Kali Yuga, who are the most fallen people, and they are getting like the Krishna Prem that is offered to the gopis. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a simple example. He says that if a king is there, and if king gets drunk, gets intoxicated, he goes to his treasury, he opens his treasury, takes out valuable jewels, comes on the street and gives it to the most poor people. So can anyone explain this behavior? So he is the king, all the jewels are his, and he wants to give it to someone. What can be done? So similarly, it is explained that Prema Matta Nityananda Krupa Avatar, that Nityananda Prabhu becomes intoxicated by love of God. And then indiscriminately, he just goes on distributing. So in one lecture, Srila Prabhupada was explaining, he was giving this lecture in Los Angeles. He was explaining that if you have got human form of life, then we must worship Radha and Krishna. But if we have to worship Radha and Krishna, we need the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. We need the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So only when you get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you will be able to worship Radha and Krishna. Now, if you want to get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then you first worship Nityananda Prabhu. And if you worship Nityananda Prabhu nicely, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will definitely take you seriously. So now the question comes, how you will get the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu? So Prabhupada replies, then you approach people like Jagai and Madai. So if you try to approach people who are most sinful and try to give them Krishna conscious, definitely you will become the recipient of Nityananda Prabhu's mercy. And then your whole life will be successful. So this is how, like, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Navadip, he instructed Nityananda Prabhu to preach. So he preached in the area of Navadip, and then he made so many people devotees, especially he converted Jagai and Madai. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu takes sannyas and goes to Jagannath Puri. And when Nityananda Prabhu comes to Jagannath Puri along with all other Vaishnavas, Nityananda Prabhu tells, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells Nityananda Prabhu that now you should marry. You enter into Grihastha ashram. Because one day, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu were sitting in a secluded place, and both of them were discussing. And in that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives order to Nityananda Prabhu that you should preach in Bengal. And then, Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Karo Krishna Shiksha. And that's how, like, you should give all the people of Bengal this Krishna prema. Now the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu becomes the life and soul of nityā. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that to deliver the most fallen, you must enter into Grihastha ashram, because he says, I am a sannyasi. And because of the sannyasi, I cannot freely associate with anyone. There is also a restriction, what are the places I can visit and what are the places are forbidden for sannyasis to visit. But a Grihastha can easily mix with all classes of the people, and especially all the people who are sinners. And then Nityananda Prabhu goes to Ambikakalna at the place of Suryadas Sarkhela. That's the place, he was the brother of Gauridas Pandit. And Suryadas had two daughters, Janva Devi and Vasudha. They were like Revati and Varuni. They were like eternal consort of Lord Balaram. And then after marrying both of them, he starts a massive preaching across the Bengal. And Nityā starts preaching to all the common people, inducing them to chant Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's name, Panchatattva mantra, then Mahamantra. And this is how millions of people became devotees. And there is a place called Kardaha where he made his preaching base when Nityananda Prabhu settled with Janva Mataji and Vasudha. And from there, unprecedented, massive transformation happened, and so many people became devotees. And then Vasudha got a son, Virabhadra or Virichandra. He was the incarnation of Ksharadakshai Vishnu. And he also converted so many people in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. He also started distributing love of God. And this is how, like, we have seen that the mercy of Nityananda is there, then only we can get the mercy of Radha and Krishna. And this is how we have seen that that Narottama Das Thakur has sung, Heno Nitai Bine Bhai Radha Krishna Paite Nahi. That means without Nityananda's mercy, one cannot approach Srimati Radharani. We'll get the mercy of Srimati Radharani only when she says that Nityananda Prabhu is very much pleased with us. Then only we can get that mercy. And Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was glorified as a supremely compassionate. They are Parama Karuna, Pahunduvijana, Nitai Gaurachandra. That this incarnation is extremely merciful. And then what happens is, when a sadhaka like us take the shelter of our spiritual master's instructions, that's the only time we gain spiritual strength so that we can overcome all the obstacles. And Nityananda Prabhu is most kind, most merciful, and his forgiveness has no limit. It's unlimitedly forgiveness. And this is how, like, Lochan Das Thakur also has glorified Nityananda Prabhu, that Nityananda Prabhu never becomes angry. He always remains compassionate. He always remains forgiving under all circumstances. Because without forgiveness, without the kind of kindness of Nityananda Prabhu, that the souls in the Kali Yuga will have no chance that they will make spiritual advancement. So we have to understand that whatever spiritual strength that we have received it because of the causeless mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. That spiritual strength is not ours. The moment we think that this spiritual strength is ours, we become completely disconnected because this strength is never our strength. And we have seen, like, when we take the shelter of our spiritual master, because our spiritual master also gets mercy from Nityananda Prabhu. And spiritual master is also unlimitedly forgiving. He is patiently waiting that somehow or other the disciple will slowly give up his attachments, give up his ahankar, and slowly he will surrender. So even though we make so many mistakes, the spiritual master patiently waits so that we can rectify all our actions. And if you go to the place where Nityananda Prabhu has appeared, that's the place is Ekachakra. There is a beautiful deity of Bankim Rai. And that's like Nitai discovers this beautiful deity when he was wandering at the banks of Yamuna. Now if you visit the Holy Dham, and we always hear that this place is not different from Vrindavan. So Ekachakra is considered as not different from Vrindavan, and it has got all the potencies of Vrindavan. But when we visit the Dham, we see the Dham with our mundane eyes. And we fail to understand that the small nalas, the water that is flowing there, is Yamuna. You also must have visited Ekachakra, and you also must have seen what is being described as Yamuna. It's just a small water is passing through that place. Locally it's called as Nala. And it's very difficult for people to accept that. So once there was one old sadhu who came from Braj to Ekachakra, and he was told, like, this Ekachakra where Nityā has performed different leelas, and this is Yamuna, is not different from like Vraj Yamuna. So this old sadhu somehow or other had some doubt in the mind that how come this the small trickle of water is described as Yamuna. But because the local people were considering that's Yamuna, he also started taking bath in that water. And still in the mind he was thinking that how this can be Yamuna. Because in Vraj, daily he would take bath in Yamuna. And as he was taking his bath, because he was old, he had a stick. And somehow the stick disappeared in the waters of Yamuna in Ekachakra. And somehow he couldn't find that stick. After staying few days in Ekachakra, then he goes back to Vrindavan. And as he comes back to Vrindavan, and as he started taking bath in Yamuna, suddenly he realized that something is getting stuck in between his two legs. So he sees that there is some stick. He takes out that sticks and he understands that this is the same stick which he had lost it in Ekachakra. And then he understands that this is how, first I doubted that in Ekachakra, the river that is flowing is Yamuna. But spiritually, all of them are connected with each other. And just for me to teach a lesson, Lord had arranged this situation. And then he starts begging forgiveness from the Supreme Lord that I had a doubt about that whether this is a pure Yamuna. So whenever we visit the places where Lord Krishna has performed his pastimes, we should give more stress on ears hearing the words of our acharyas rather than mundane vision that we have, which is contaminated by so many bias, so many doubts. We will not be able to see the real dham in that. And that's how the Bankim Rai appears, and similarly nearby the Radharani deities also appear, which is kept then later near to this. So this is how we see that Nityananda Prabhu is the original Guru, and then he manifests all the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through his heart. He is like an embodiment of Parama Karuna, and his path is joyful. Actually, if somebody with pure heart starts doing bhakti, he can understand that actually path of bhakti is so much joyful. And by serving the devotees, by associating with the devotees, the chanting the holy names, and engaging in different services, we can experience the joy of bhakti. And Srila Prabhupada also gave a great emphasis that in Kali Yuga, all of us, we need the mercy of nityā. And that is why we have seen that he has installed many places the Gaur nityā. Before he could worship, we could worship Radha and Krishna. So we have to follow in his footsteps with the care and humility. And we have also seen all the information of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we received it to Nityananda Prabhu. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was also ordered by Nityananda Prabhu to write the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also gives credit to Nityananda Prabhu, saying that because of his mercy, I am able to describe the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Similarly, Vrindavan Das Thakur, who has written Chaitanya Bhagavat, he also could write about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes because of Nityā's grace. And the whole world knows Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mainly because of Nityananda Prabhu. So this is what should be the ultimate aspiration of a devotee, to be the servant of Nityā's servant. And that will become the fulfillment of our soul. We will be able to follow Krishna consciousness sincerely when we chant humbly the holy name and serve the Vaishnavas. We will be able to become the servants and servants of Nityā. So on this today's auspicious day, we have to understand that the glories of Nityananda Prabhu, that how all of us, we owe our lives to the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. And especially, he is so much worried that his Lord has given him order to preach, and he wants to bring as many people as possible at the feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And if we can become instrumental in bringing people to the feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, definitely we will become the recipient of Nityananda Prabhu's grace. Hare Krishna. So we'll end here. Are there any questions or comments?
In Jahnavi Bankimra, you installed Jahnavi Mata deity.
Huh?
You know, if in Ekachakra, we have Bankimra deity, right? There is, on the left hand side also, Jahnavi Mata deity also is there.
And then Murli, this is also there. Murlidhar deity is
It
also
is also there. So, but you said Muralidhar deity was given by Nityananda Prabhu to his mother, that sannyasi. But Jahanamata deity, later it was installed?
there. Later it was kept. No? Okay, so we'll end here. Shri Prabhupada ki, Samaved Bhakta Vrinda ki.
Well,